me 1 second. Yeah, it's Fox. It's Fox from them. That's one.
Who's missing?
Nobody.
Everybody's here. Okay.
Meet down here. Office is upstairs. I like this.
Adam's set.
You ready?
Here we go.
Ready.
Okay, let's start with our Public Works Committee.
I see. Turn the lights up.
I'll go through a few project updates, and then we have 2 items on the agenda besides project updates. We'll discuss those as well. But before I get started, I want to introduce you all to our new traffic engineer, AJ Nascula, right here behind you. 2 weeks now, and he's coming back to work every day, so it's a good sign.
So our traffic problems are solved now.
Everyone. Budget update, Maple Street.
The good thing he started after COVID.
Maple Street, we are basically finished with acquisitions. Waiting on approval from DOT. We did get some comments back from them, recently, minor comments. They've been addressed, resubmitted. So I feel like once funding is in place with the TIF, we're ready to move forward with construction on this project. Next month, I'll be bringing the finance committee, probably CIA CPI contract. Cedar Street Extension had a utility coordination meeting a couple weeks ago. That we all expected the utility coordination meeting. I just gave authorization to begin right-of-way acquisition. Again, this project is being funded by the TIF. Once TIF is in place, right-of-way acquisition. This process. Central Avenue sidewalk plans are being finalized now. Hope to have this ready to go July, August, final plan submitted for DOT permitting. West to south sidewalk, Lee Street sidewalk is both. Lee Street sidewalk is finalized and ready to be let bids. Left to south sidewalk, plan to be finalized now. And it's going to be good. We'll take Sorry, could you repeat that? We'll take the street sidewalk, okay, for CDBG project last year, 2020. Yep, we bid this project June 1st. The approval for the construction contract is on. Several part drainage, contract there is June 1st, taking out 33,000 cubic yards of material, so 8%, which needs to come out. They'll get this back on the job next 2 to 3 weeks. They had to pull off the job for the trucking shortage. Project. At the same time, our stormwater stormwater department is working on the Peter Street portion of the project. Unfortunately, it's not completed on the flooding weekend. Those projects are still underway. Squeeview Lane drainage study, plans are being finalized now. Construction plans, they got a preliminary cost estimate, $225,000 for that project. That's basically using mental health facility. And the Bear Island Road traffic signals, temporary signals have been installed within that week or so. We've had some problems with them. But as of this morning, they did change out the control panel, one of them. Solve that issue. Next item is discussion of pedestrian crosswalk at St. Paul's Christian Church, North Carolina. Mr. Bailey, you had a chance to have this.
Yeah, I had a constituent call, Mike over here, they were, the President Circle. And we're, thinking it'd be a good idea to perhaps move that thing up in a priority. All the way for people who live all that area on the other side of, Carolina Avenue, walking down. No real legal way to get across the street. And this is not traffic. And I know one of the issues in that area is none of the roads lined up, so you're not gonna get a four-way crossing. But, I think that on our list of things to look at, 6 or 7 or something, 10, 12, I didn't know. That was something we possibly wouldn't have hard to take on that.
So the press is to put crosswalk, yeah. Street,
That would be one option.
Well,
Just looking at that,
Is there a sidewalk
I mean,
on the
the
other
other-
side? There's-
Pardon me, but the other might be Laurel. And that comes with a multitude of problems that I'm aware of, including that when you get down to something, you don't have a crosswalk there either.
mid-block crosswalk on themselves are a safety issue. I don't support them, I think they're a good idea. However, we have this freeway stop at Beaufort, and freeway stop at Marion, where pedestrians can safely cross the road, freeway stop sign, and walk up to Sumter or Laurel and walk into town.
Marion's pretty,
Nowhere to walk on Marion.
Yeah.
You're walking in the side of the road.
Beaufort may be a better solution. Walk from Beaufort down to Laurel, and I think there is a sidewalk on Laurel.
Yeah.
I don't recommend the unprotected pedestrian crosswalk.
So Beaufort crossing, is there a sidewalk from Beaufort to Waring?
The only sidewalk in West Carolina is Sumter and Laurel. On the east side. So we can paint, but right now there's a stop bar in Carolina at Beaufort. We can paint a crosswalk there. If you want to paint in West Carolina. I grew up in West Carolina.
You proved it. No.
But I think a mid-block crosswalk unprotected.
and the only protection you're gonna give for our Marion.
So if you put it, I mean, Beaufort would make more sense, I think, to accomplish what I think folks on the other side of West Carolina want to accomplish. But a sidewalk, I don't, sidewalks on Beaufort.
There's no sidewalks in any of those streets.
No coming to Carolina on that side. Or the other side.
Like I said, the only sidewalk in West Carolina that's really usable is something on the east side, the right side.
Yes.
If we may, we're the folks that put in, thank you all for doing, e-bike, and the better spot, if you look quicker, you're talking about is there's a sidewalk, a little short sidewalk here, so one of the options is crossing here, you have a sidewalk on this side of the street, and you can at least get to something. Something to get you the pathway through the park and everything else all down on bikes or walking and so on. Or the other one, which is this Linwood across the Sumter, is a little shorter path, but there's no sidewalk on each side. So it's like you have them across here. Having experienced this, the stop sign here and the stop sign right here, is we hide over here on our bikes. You know why? Because we poke out over here, we hear the cars accelerate, they floor it right here. They don't want to stop again to cut us off. We have to hide here in the sidewalk and wait, don't hear a car coming. Then we can at least poke out and be able to skinny corner across here. And there's a lot of other kids, people walking, all the people over here, this is the only chokehold to get into town, walking or biking or golf carts or anything else. So I'm just afraid, given that we have this sort of gap of Indianapolis 500, that you're gonna have there's gonna be an accident here. There's gonna be some serious things gonna happen. I know you guys put that cute little zigzag there as an attempt to slow it down. But a person standing right there, or a bike sitting right there is, and then they're off. That's all. And thanks again, I'll bring that up.
I don't want to be a naysayer or negative on this, but I walk almost every day. I live on Laurel Street. I cross Laurel Street every day on Carolina. I cross Laurel Street almost every day on either Gadsden. I'm walking, although I do bike as well, or Linwood. And I got to be honest, I mean, yes, there's traffic there. I understand it, but I never feel threatened.
What time is that? What time do you walk? We walk late afternoon.
Generally not late afternoon. I'm doing something else. Generally.
Probably here.
So you're general.
Yeah, no, but I do walk from say 7 in the morning through the morning through about 2 o'clock. I'm not at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, I admit. But I don't believe there's anything going to help you at 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
If somebody had a car stop, definitely crossing, if they would have to.
By the way, William Warren actually.
There's a bunch of neighbors that bikes, and we like to go into town and have dinner in town. We don't want to use our cars. We like to walk
Okay,
and bike.
I understand.
On a time of day, you're right, the traffic at that time of day.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, if you choose the worst traffic time to travel, I mean, that's like going down I-26. I understand that.
We spend money.
Okay, good.
So Russ, there is a small sidewalk between Sumter and Gadsden, from what he was saying,
Across the street.
across the street.
Right side of the street. Yep. The only sidewalk in West Carolina is between Laurel and Gadsden. One block on the right side of the street.
It's actually on the left as well between Laurel and Sumter. Not right in the church. Yeah.
I don't know how you do it. I'm not a traffic engineer. But I think the perfect enemy of the good, if we had roads lined up and blocks like UDO says we're supposed to be doing it, it wouldn't be a problem. We don't have a situation. I think that's a long stretch of road not to have a crosswalk. I don't know where you put it, really. I don't know the ideal spot, but
Well, I think that maybe this is something you guys can look at over the next month and study it to see a better solution. If one place is better to put it, and if we have to make a sidewalk on one side to match up on the other side for a small area.
Well, I have looked at it. Maybe it's in the last week, talked to AJ about it. Again, I think the best solution is to put one across the computer. We want to, that's a two-way stop, but we want to film a sidewalk from Buford down to Laurel on that side, and so we can plan for the future.
But the other thing you do is put a stop sign on Carolina. Yes. You have to stop there, and then you have an opportunity for pedestrians, cyclists across the street. Stop in the Buford, put one on top of the hill. The problem is, people stop the one, the stop sign, and then they gun it up that hill. By the time they cross the pond, they're in front of St. Paul, they're going like 45 miles.
Well, I think the issue with the crosswalk is that a certain percentage of people are not going to stop for cyclists or pedestrians in the crosswalk. It's not going to do it. And yeah, they're violating the law, but it doesn't do them good when laid out. And we put a mid-block crosswalk across South Main at Jimmy Dow Funeral Home, and we had a fatality in the crosswalk because people don't stop at mid-block crosswalk. So at least if you like Councilman Jenkins and you jaywalking when you cross, you know you're taking your life in your own hands when you're using a crosswalk. You think you have protection, but you don't.
I was just gonna say, I personally feel the same way about crosswalks. They're almost a false sense of security. This one out here, I have come rubbing almost up against the car more than 2 or 3 times. It's able to blow through here and in. I mean, I can look them in the eye through the windshield and blow by. The one in Azalea Park is a little bit better, but I, like you say, have seen people blow through there. And I think because it is a little bit better, that people tend to walk out there because they have the right to do it. As I've always told my kids, you have the right, but you can be dead right also. And so
If the traffic on West Carolina was minimal, okay, it was a street, not come down part of the day, maybe, not come down part of the day. I would think.
Well, we had a long debate about putting the stop signs, and we've had a continual debate since I've been on council for 10 years about whether to take the one down in Marion. As far as you know, Russ, are stop signs on West Carolina likely to stay the same? Is it working?
It's working. I'm not done seeing studies to put those stop signs up.
It seems like Buford would be the only place to do it. I mean, you gotta, they have to stop.
So if it's between Buford and Marion, I would agree. I don't.
Either out and the sidewalk, you're suggesting, walk on the other side, and then you have to put crosswalk at Laurel. Well, you're already there. Well, there's one more. You could easily do that because the sidewalk, south side of Laurel. Funding the sidewalk from Buford to Laurel on the right side. I'm a little, maybe I'm a little confused here, because when we talk of walking or riding, sidewalk pedestrian. So, y'all are talking, I think y'all are talking about biking.
Yeah, we'll legally,
Like
we'll
you
legally,
want.
by the sidewalk, try not to.
So nobody's following any of the laws. Just to be clear.
Oh,
I'll put my-
At least I have comfort here.
I'll leave business cards for them.
Madam Chairman, can I say something?
Yes, you-
I live on Caroline Avenue, right in the vicinity y'all talking about. I think Russ has got the best idea. And by the way, we're talking about walking because we're not building pedestrian bicycle crossings. And our sidewalks, right, and our sidewalks meet walking sidewalks, not bicycle sidewalks. So what I think Russ has got the best idea. If we do one at Buford Street and bring it up to Laurel Street, let it cross Laurel Street, it can go to Sumter Avenue or it can go down Laurel Street. I think that's the only way we can do it this time. It can't cross anywhere in front of St. Paul's Church You got a step down curb there. That would be a good way to get somebody killed. Like Councilman McIntosh said, and there's no question about it, people get a false security about a pedestrian crossing. They think because it's there, they can just walk up in front of a car. Well, if they do that, they'll get killed. Just because it's there, even when you got the little man standing in the middle and the flashing light and all that, you better have enough sense to stop and make sure the traffic stops where you can get across. I have no objection to putting a pedestrian crossing on Carolina Avenue, but it sure needs to be in the right place. And I was born and raised within a block of Carolina Avenue. And by the way, we didn't have to have a pedestrian crossing way back in those days because there wasn't any cars. But we do now. And they do.
Go around.
Yeah, yeah. But like you said, they do fly up and down that street. There's no question about it. They're going a lot of times a lot faster than what you're thinking, but they're going fast and you got to be careful. But I think Buford Street is the only place we can really consider putting one. And I think that you all ought to study it a little bit more, Ms. Kimmer, and let Russ study it a little bit more. He's got his traffic engineer here. And I do think we need the pedestrian crossing, no question about it. We've got a lot of people that live on the other side of Carolina that want to cross Carolina. If they're on a bicycle, they need to get off the bicycle and push it across the street like we used to tell our children to do, because I would not think of riding my bicycle up and just flying across Carolina Avenue, because that'd be a good way to get killed. But you do, yeah, walk your bicycles across and try to get to the other side. But that's just my thoughts on it. Thank you.
Well, what does the committee think? Go ahead and let Russ examine doing just that.
Well, I agree with the mayor. I think Russ has got the right idea. If you look at Buford Street, you come on up to Laurel, then you can do something across Carolina. I think that's got the way to go. And maybe let them put a little bit more thought into it. Maybe the next meeting we could decide. But that seems to be the way to go. I have walked Laurel Street too, like Terry. I walk a lot too. And sidewalks on Laurel Street comes right up to Carolina. And so if you're gonna go across, it's probably the way to do it.
We need a motion to that.
What are we looking for? Like a cost estimate? What are we looking for us to do? Well, but obviously there's a part two to the sidewalk. Go ahead and put the crosswalk.
There's enough right away there where you can walk safely that time.
Yeah, I knew today you could walk it, but you probably wouldn't, you probably would not illegally ride it. Well, you're not illegal there because you're not on the sidewalk. Once they put the sidewalk in there, illegal.
We walking the bike.
Yeah, one sidewalk.
We walking the bike.
Still walking.
With a smile.
Yeah, I think you can walk that. I'm not sure what, if there's enough room for sidewalk, I believe. Almost till you get to your office.
You guys want us to look at putting the crosswalk in and get a cost estimate and examine the right away for the sidewalk.
Second your motion. We don't need a
Okay,
vote. We don't need a vote. Just
Yeah. Okay.
go forward and set a horn.
I see. There's some foundation circle with me.
Yes. Did you have a picture of that? No?
No.
Okay. All right. I've received a phone call from someone that lives up at Plantation Circle. Okay, there's four entrances, I believe. 4 entrances. There is a one-way sign up that, I don't know about that, on the opposite, in the circle itself, when you come up to a yield sign. And so what the resident is telling me is, of course, people just turn, but a lot of, some people are turning left and not going by the one-way sign. And then some people that live on a corner are backing out of the driveway, backing up so they don't have to go clear around. And she was asking, what about putting stop signs at each of those 4 entrances to the circle? I talked to the HOA to be president, and he didn't feel that it was a good idea to put the stop signs there. He felt that the yield signs were enough, but perhaps we could make our one-way sign either a lot larger or to put it a few feet before the stop sign, so it's before people get there. And I wanted to see what your thoughts were.
I'm in a situation where
Yeah, the one-way sign.
Sounds like people just want.
Yeah.
Shock.
And I guess, they do speed through there from time to time. There's children, and the kids are going out in the street or they cross the street to get to the middle. Because, people take their dogs and walk their dogs up there, or the kids just play up there. So sometimes you might be in a little bit of a blind spot if you're going too fast around there and you're not going to see the kids crossing. So, so look at maybe putting the one-way signs closer to the yield sign before they get to the entrance. That's all I had.
If I'm Mike, Madam Chairman, a couple of questions. Cedar Street extension. I'm not even sure that we're finished getting the estimate yet. Right away estimate to get to where we are, much less proving doing anything else on Cedar Street, no matter what we do with it without the tip. That's the question. I thought we decided not to build Central Avenue sidewalk.
There's no money currently in the budget for in the 2022 budget. Or it would be to get an estimate, get an actual price, and then come back to the budget.
We just try to get the plans. Do the permits.
Are we going in the right order? If council does not want to build that sidewalk, because of at least this councilman thought that at some point in time, that road's got to be widened, and we're gonna end up losing the sidewalk. Why are we spending any money doing anything for the sidewalk that we're not going to approve? I think we ought to decide whether or not we think the sidewalk ought to be there, and then decide whether or not we're going to.
Well, from what I remember, we never really abandoned the idea of sidewalks. Now that we get into permitting and that sort of thing, you're at that stage, right? So now we're just at a matter of funding it to get the sidewalks done. That's
What we're doing is we're spending money to find out whether or not we want to spend the money to build a sidewalk, right?
We're just spending money to design.
Right, yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
But
Well, how long is the permit you go for? DA permits good for 5 years, UP permits good for 1 year. I think we need to answer the question.
I know we took an affirmative vote to do it. I don't remember whether you know the date when that was. It may have been in 2019. But I thought that the affirmative vote to do it was to pursue grant money. I'm not making that part up.
But we're not there.
Yeah.
No, we did not put any money in the budget for construction. We're getting the money, it does get funded, the grant money does come.
I guess I'm trying to reconcile my recollection, Councilman Jenkins did something occur after that that had us put it on the back burner?
Another license been taken on the project by the council since that date.
So I think that's a question for council, if you'd like for us to send the plans out, or if we want to have a specific discussion about whether we're going to move forward or not move forward. That's a big conversation you want to have, because the staff is spending more time for us to get other stuff to do.
And I think that Councilman McIntosh is correct, that this was pre this council, when it was approved. And since then, I think the questions have been raised, and I just would like us to decide whether or not we think this is something that we want to go forward with as a council before we spend any money.
But now we have an engineer to help.
I mean, if I could wave a magic wand and funding be there, I would say do it. It's a huge safety issue on Central Avenue. With, pedestrians walking on the side. We discussed it in great detail. I just, at different times, I thought we identified pots of money. Those monies just.
I think that the budget that he had mentioned was 625, and that was requesting the budget. The hope would be that we could possibly bid it out, maybe find other possible for it.
Feel like we've been.
Russ,
chasing
how
money
far was
for a
that
while.
sidewalk going?
Well, there's 3 phases to it. It starts near West Carolina and goes out on the road. We're designing it to build in 3 phases. The first phase would go from West Carolina near Parsonsville. About a mile.
So that's what you're doing right now? The money you're spending right now will take us to Parsons Road?
The money we have in the design contract takes all 3 phases, but they're preparing, finalizing preparation plans at Parsonsville.
If it's in 3 phases, it would go from Carolina to Orangeburg. And I know in the past, and this is going way back 4, 5, 6 years. Is there some potential or continuing discussions about the county participating as we get closer to next year?
And then talk to Kennedy about it. I know they don't feel sorry.
Talk to them about it
They
4 or 5 years ago.
They support the idea of a sidewalk.
Well, it feels good to have.
They're great
support.
cheerleaders.
Well, that makes me feel better.
I'm not for spending any money if it's outside the city limits, period.
Well, that intersection is Orangeburg, and it starts at that intersection of Orangeburg and Central, where the old Mr. K's, Piggly Wiggly.
I know the intersection good.
I
Part of it's out of town.
But and so for the first mile or two coming back into town, it's like a checkerboard. So at one time I thought the county was going to help some money, but I must have been hallucinating.
The question is when I'm send a letter and ask.
Also, I thought, what I remember is we were gonna take the sidewalks from West Carolina to Parsons and then going up to Orange to where the fire station is at Butternut.
I was saying, Parsons, Butternut, phase 2, Butternut.
But you would design it and permit the whole thing.
We're designing permitting phase 1 now.
Oh, okay, I
So
misunderstood.
the contract we had is for all 3 phases. It's not really in phase 1.
Okay.
West Carolina
That's
to
good.
Parsons, is certainly, a safety issue there with needing sidewalks. And all the way up to Butternut too. The phase 1 or the phase 2 makes a lot of sense to me because of sidewalks creating an issue of safety. Going all the way up to Orangeburg Road, that's the 3rd phase. It doesn't really appeal to me because what I'm looking at is a portion of that Central Avenue is, in the district where we certainly need some sidewalks, and I think part of it might be in Phil's district too, up to Butternut.
And that phase is probably 3 or 4 years out. And I can tell you, there's $0 funded for Central Avenue line. There's no money funded. If money were funded today, it would be at least 3 years before we see the construction. And probably are 7 years away to get the money.
Russ, for, the Central Avenue, there's been cost estimates done for it before, where did it widen from to? Did it go all the way into town, or did it not stop at Parsons? I can't
I
remember.
think it comes further than Parsons. The dial.
Do you want us to put together a map and show all this and talk about it, and maybe talk about the Central Avenue widening where, if it ever did happen, it's like a 22, 25, some $20 million project, so.
But now it's just an idea.
How much are we gonna spend on it? With what we're doing right now, what are we gonna spend on it? How much are we gonna spend on what you're doing now? And what are we gonna spend on the construction of the sidewalk? Round figure.
The contract right now. $300,000 for design.
How much?
We've got $300,000.
300?
Yes, sir.
300,000, okay, and how much on the sidewalk?
I think the estimate. About 600,000.
So 600,000 is just $1 million, okay, to Parsons Road. And then that's gonna take how long?
Once we get it bid, probably 6 to 9 months. For construction,
For construction, but how long will it take us before we ever start?
probably next 3 to 4 months. If we find something.
Okay, so we're looking at a year. And then a couple of years later, several years later, because we don't know what the highway department's gonna do. We can guess, but we don't know what they're gonna do. We don't know. You telling me that, we don't know, you don't know, I don't know, and nobody knows what they're gonna do. So they gonna come along and they could tear our sidewalk up. We just spent $1 million for it. That's my problem, people. That's my problem. That's the only thing I'm gonna say. I'm not gonna vote for it or against it. But I hate to spend $1 million on the sidewalk that somebody else will tear up.
Are we obligated under our contract to take the study all the way out? In the base,
I think it's really, stop it.
Well, it seems to me, like you were saying, that if Central Avenue does get widened, it might go all the way down to Parsons or a little bit further, going towards town. So if we did a sidewalk starting from Carolina to Parsons, the thought would be, if we were to widen later, that only a smaller portion would have to be affected of our sidewalk.
Yeah, I mean, there are no. things.
And my thought is that we just go ahead and put in the sidewalk because of the safety issue right now.
Use a lot of pedestrians to use that portion of the sidewalk. So it would be used regularly.
a lot of places, this sidewalk, you don't have it, so we don't have that problem.
Well, we put a sidewalk in Parkwood, at least as you got towards Central, because of, I think it moved up in the pecking order because of such an obvious safety hazard. People walking in Parkwood all the time in the room, on the side of the room. And I see the same thing in Central, but I understand the concern that, we may do something one day at the intersection of Parsons and Central. So I'm very comfortable saying that I don't think DOT will ever do anything on the town side of Parsons and Central. If they did something out towards Knightsville, what you're saying is that 10 years from now. So I'm more comfortable with the first phase, but the concerns that have been raised about DOT, I think could be much more valid as you get further out of the downtown area. And you are building a sidewalk. The further you get out of the downtown area, the more you're building a sidewalk for the county residents.
And that first phase is certainly needed, because if you ever walk that portion of Central Avenue up there where Simmons is, it's horrible. You because I've walked it, and I see people trying to walk to get downtown to do things, and they don't have the sidewalks. So I think that's the portion that we should protect, which is where most of our citizens have the safety issue. Going all the way out to Knightsville, that's different. That doesn't have a whole lot of appeal to me, but I know the first phase really makes a whole lot. And that's the reason that we actually conceived it, because we were trying to get sidewalks. It was a safety issue. And I think we had a couple of people actually come to the town council meeting a couple of times. One lady in particular off of Atlantic Street spoke about sidewalks, and there was a lack of sidewalks there on Central Avenue. So I think it's something we need to do in the first phase, second, and third. It's a different story.
Well, do I have a motion to send this up to full council?
I'll make the
Phase
motion.
one only.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, all in favor? Oh.
Still talk, get back to.
Number three.
You're back to number 3, A3.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Passes.
I'll see if I can find it. I'll see if I can find anything about the, Central Avenue, the cost of the project. Because in an ideal world, we would get Maple Street done, North Maple Street done, Parsons would then get widened, and then you get to the intersection of Parsons and Central, and from that intersection out, there would be improvements made. Obviously, we're not in an ideal world, because we only have money to pay for the Maple Street section. There's nothing happening on Parsons or Central, so we're gonna push traffic that way. So we're just gonna try to figure out a plan.
Okay, do we have anything else? Movement to adjourn,
That's a move.
all in favor?
Okay, Ms. Jessie, and development.
Call to order the Planning and Development Committee meeting. I think we just have one item on the agenda, Ms. Wood.
Yes, sir. Number 137-06-11-002, located at 404 West Richardson Avenue, approximately 0.6 acres, and owned by William A. and Francis L. Harbison, from GR2 General Residential to GR5 General Residential. This is in Council District 2. Planning Commission held a public hearing and made a recommendation for approval at their meeting on May 6th.
Mr. Chairman, if I might, I have no objection to the lot being subdivided. Sure, if you could allay my concerns that it can only be 2 parcels and not 3.
Based on the existing lot size, which is 0.6 acres, the minimum lot size for GR5 is 8,500 square feet, which is approximately 0.2 acres. But with the existing location of the house, historic house that's already on the property, they would need some sort of variance to be able to subdivide it into more than 2 lots.
And the current plan is to subdivide it into 2, one of approximately 15,000 square feet plus, and one for 12,000 square feet minus a little bit. And if that is approved, then with the existing historical property there, which is Sears House, probably 110 years old, that we would never approve to be torn down. The only way they could subdivide is only 15,000 square foot lot in essence.
Right, which would, again, require a
Would-
variance. Because it
Which
would,
would require variance because it doesn't have enough. to
Correct.
subdivide. Okay.
So if I may ask, what is the advantage for anybody to go from GR2?
so the applicant who is under contract with the Harbisons would like to build a home on property. Technically, with GR2, you could build a accessory dwelling unit if you didn't subdivide it. But it's not large enough to subdivide into 2 lots in GR2. If you don't subdivide it, you can technically build an accessory dwelling unit, but that accessory dwelling unit has to be half the size of the existing home, which really isn't very large actually. Or you could build, but you would still require a variance because that accessory dwelling unit would actually be fronting a street. It'd be kind of in front of the main structure. Or you could build a primary structure, but it would have to be twice the size of the existing structure, which is going to make your house almost 4,000 square feet, which is, for one, may not be approved by the VAR, and 2, the applicant doesn't want to build a house.
And what else can you do with it?
It's single-family residential detached. It's the same general, pretty much almost the exact same uses are allowed. There's some slight differences. There's a, yeah, but the main difference is lot size and a slight difference in the setbacks.
So it's essentially, I mean, obviously we have other regulations under the UDO, but we don't know what our regulations will look like, whether, no matter what we call them. But essentially, GR2 is 2 units per acre, GR5 is 5 units per acre.
Correct.
That's what they mean.
Would there, I'm not on the committee. Would just, would there be any advantage in zoning this thing instead of GR5, GR3? It's allowed under the UDO, and I don't think we don't have any problem with zone that way.
I mean, I would leave that question to GW. The one question we had about the GR5-3 was because we don't have any of it. Would that constitute a spot zoning? I don't know.
You gotta start somewhere.
I agree, but generally, if you start somewhere, you do a whole block or something. You wouldn't just do a single property on a block,
What
not
is-
surrounded by anything.
What is the harvest zone, the property next door, what is it currently zoned?
That whole block is all currently zoned GR2. That's the adjacent lot. Got the
And how does
GR5.
the other adjacent block become GR5? It just-
It's actually as you can see, it's kind of,
Do they have
all three
different,
of
they had
those.
different zoning before the
they
UDO?
did, yeah. It's just, my guess would be, we didn't really change the zoning on those. My guess would be it was a transition from the downtown to a, slightly denser to a larger lot size. It's a
Well,
kind of
So
transition
this
from
is the
business.
beginning of that.
Well, I mean, technically on the lot, like I said, they could build another house on it right now. It's just the size constraints.
Well, they can build another house, but they don't have a separate property to sell. I mean, let's be.
That's
real-
true.
Let's be real clear. This is about profits. This is about making money. And, I'm not usually opposed to people making money. I just, I think my hesitation to support this is that what I'm hearing is, well, we don't think there'll ever be 3 units. They will be moved, there'll be, essentially 2/10 of an acre lots in this area, so historic district area, because they would have to get permission from the BAR to tear down the Sears house. They'd have to get a variance from the GZA, ZBA. But that's putting it in somebody else's hands. This is right here is in our hands. We don't have a lot to say so in these issues, but 2 things in this council has ultimate, not just ultimate authority, but the only authority on annexations and rezonings. And I'll tell you that I think we made some mistakes in the rezonings and some other areas, other lots nearby in the past. I'm ready to atone for those mistakes and just stop approving rezonings to make anything more dense in the historic district. Got to start somewhere, so I'm voting against it.
I'll go ahead and make a motion that we move it before the council.
I'll second. Any more discussion? All those in favor of the recommendation of denial? Opposed? Motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All those in favor say aye, aye. We're adjourned.
All right, Finance Committee. Daniel will do the Finance Committee.
Yes.
All right, Daniel.
I'll help. Need be, but I think you can.
You and Daniel. All right, let's look back on Daniel. We'll do the Finance Committee.
Y'all all know, Daniel?
Yes, I know, Daniel.
All right.
Go ahead, sir.
Council, how are you this evening?
Good.
Very good. Here to present the May 2021 financial report. So let's go page by page here. The highlights here. As you can see, current summary of current revenue in our general fund. This period, we have realized $2,083,533.95. This brings our year to date to $15,728,864.78. Expenditures, I'll give you the summary there. Current period, $2,812,306.80. Which brings our expenditures for the year to $14,764,386.03. On the second page there, the detail of our general fund revenues. Property taxes in this past period was revenue was $193,151.23. Bring our year to date to $11,008,505.93. Licenses, permits, and fees, $1,570,285.40 realized this past period, largely due to our business license renewal period starting up. So that brings our year to date to $2,927,377.05. Courts, fines, and fees, $13,080.34 for the period. Year to date, $49,487.93. State revenues, this past period, $202,792.22. Bringing our year to date to $1,423,070.35. On to page 3 to continue with revenues. Miscellaneous, $117,305.10 for the month of May. Bringing our year to date to $320,423.52. Moving on further to impact fees. The available balances for Parks and Rec, total available balance is $293,108. Fire facilities, available balance is $998,075. Municipal facilities, $247,908. For a total available balance of $1,542,942. And further impact fees for total revenues that we've collected for residential in this past period, $14,755.13. Bring the year to date up to $140,372.66. On to commercial. This past period, we realized $209,865.28 in commercial impact fee revenue. Bringing the year to date to $214,192.21. And that large increase was largely due to development next. All right, hospitality tax. Current period, month of May, $316,619.87. Year to date, $1,868,907.04. Expenditures, see, we spent $208,467.71 this past May. Largely, that was $152,000 for the mast arms at Bear Island. So that brought our year-to-date expenditures to $563,314.60. In stormwater, current period revenues, $12,892.67. Brings our year-to-date to $1,262,241.67. Expenditures, $308,845.59 in this past period, and $110,000 of that was the Shepherd Park drainage project for pond construction. So year-to-date expenditures from stormwater, $969,112.03. is summary of our financials. Does anybody have any questions?
I do. I hope you can assuage my fears and concerns. The real property taxes, we budgeted 12.9 for 6 months. And we brought in, only bringing in 10,000 in May, we brought in 9.9. So it would appear to show a $3 million shortfall. Is that because the money that came in December, people, I guess mortgage companies pay the property taxes early? I don't think real people do often. But, I mean, do we really have a $3 million hole, or is there any way to know?
That should be reconciled at the end of the fiscal year.
So any way to go and look back and see what came in December, have some idea?
Certainly look into that.
Because I would think that most anything that came in December should be in this budget and not last budget. I don't think people wait, too many people wait 12 months to pay the property taxes.
You'll look and see, so we'll see if, still a little bit under prior year's taxes and, vehicle taxes also. So,
I know prior year's taxes keep coming in because they're essentially delinquent taxes. I saw we were $3 million short with a month ago.
Any other questions?
the other thing I'll mention really quickly too, with your licensing permits, with your licenses, technically this year, it will be the same next year, this year. Your bills due, your business license is due by the end of May, but you've got 30-year grace period, 30-day.
That's happy with grace.
30-day grace period, so
See
we
you.
won't, some people aren't gonna pay until the last minute, so we won't know those numbers until the last of the last. So next year that will be different, we will not get that 30-day grace period, so we will have a better number of, this time next year. We also, have received all of our funds from NESC and some of those others that wait until the last weekend.
Are we back to collecting fully on our hospitality taxes, or are we still trying to give people breaks because of COVID-19?
We are back collecting fully, and that's one thing that I wanted to note, if you guys didn't see it, in hospitality tax, we're actually already over our budget. So,
Good son.
yeah, so, we're at 105%, and that's May 31st, and we still have June collection, so we're already over the budget for hospitality, which is great.
Super.
The other thing that I did want to notice too is also, just because I think it's interesting, our building permits is at 116% too. Seeing how that ends up, rounds up the year will be interesting too.
What level would you say that your tax money is coming in?
I don't get that reported much, but we have, I don't have it separated out in one of these reports we can get to.
I was wondering, the hotel, how would it be affected by COVID-19?
Anecdotally, I think they're getting back to normal and doing really well, but we get them.
Yeah, we can certainly get this.
That'd be something to look into, because hospitality tax is definitely.
Is a state tax aid subdivision still falling? Or is it starting to back up?
They have not taken the vote this year to change anything yet, so that's where we are. So we'll get the same as they've gotten before. They haven't done anything radical to change the percentage or anything again this year.
Still getting the shot.
Yeah. They haven't been.
And final question, you're still anticipating the American Rescue Plan money?
So my hope is that
And
once
you're
we,
starting to spend some of it before you go.
yes. My hope is that after we get the budget adopted on Thursday, then we're gonna have a group meeting, we go through the list of projects we have, fine tune that. We get back to you guys to start talking about, maybe have like a 2-hour meeting for all of us to start, to fine tune that plan, because we'll have to present
extend.
Any other questions for Dan? Thank you, Dan. Did a great job for your first meeting. Andrew trained you well. Okay, we'll move on to down the finance committee's report to Miss Beth. We'll turn it over to you.
Request by the police department to purchase a vehicle to replace the total vehicle PT-287 and 2015 Dodge Charger. The total price of the replacement is $40,392.82. Insurance paid $18,188, leaving the remaining balance that is being requested at $22,204.82. The funds are to come from police capital, vehicle, and motor.
Move to approve the request.
Second. Motion made that we approve this request in a second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by raising your right hand and saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise, ayes carried.
Approval to issue a purchase order to Landscape Cleavers LLC for the amount of $160,250 for the construction of a new sidewalk along Hickory Street. This project is being funded with federal community development block grant funds. This project was publicly advertised and sealed bids were collected. The request is from Public Works.
Make a motion that we approve this.
Second.
Motion made and second that we approve this. We paid for this grant. Any discussion? All in favor signify by raising right hand, saying aye. Opposed likewise, ayes carried.
Move we adjourn. Are we have another?
Second.
We have another item. Hang on. There's another item. I got ahead of myself.
Okay, any discussion on the upcoming council?
Carried away.
item? Okay, if not, anything?
I'll second.
All in favor, motion. Adjourn? Okay. All in favor, say aye. Raise your right hand,
You
say
gotta move
aye.
fast, Mr. Mayor.
Opposed? I feel. Motion adjourned.